Onstage, onstage with Jim and Tom. 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 Tom and Jim.
Tonight we welcome the band known as Manzanita Falls to the stage at the Phoenix Theater. One of the joys of doing this show is featuring long-time, well-known groups from our area, and Manzanita Falls definitely falls into that category. It is currently March 2017, and the band is gearing up for the release of their new album, Abilene. Tonight we will go in-depth on that album, as well as get to know the people behind the music. Please welcome to the program, Manzanita Falls.
Manzanita Falls.
Thank you for having us.
Hey.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
But the album is important. It's very culminative. The album is about death. I know that much. And the band has been around since 2011, but it's like kind of going through this like transitional period right now. So like many people who have bands, it's interesting that the band, you try to keep it together through all kinds of crazy life things. And sometimes crazy life things happen within the band, and sometimes crazy life things happen outside the band that can threaten it. You've had Stu was in this band for a long time, Stuart Markham.
Yep.
He is no longer here in the band. He's still alive, of course.
Yes.
And we're glad about
But
it.
that's
way too busy.
But that's a pivotal thing because he was a very important part of this band, was he not?
Absolutely, yeah.
And now, of course, Ross is replacing him. And we're excited about that. Jeremy, you're the principal lyricist for the band, correct?
Yeah.
Do you want to just do an overview, just a general zoomed out discussion or talk about what this new album means to you?
Yeah. This album, as you said, a lot of it has to do with death, and it's kind of the concept of how death and life are constantly they're in a you can define life by death, and you can define life by or death by life. Is you can't have one without the other kind of concept. So when a lot of the songs, like a lot of the lyrics, it started in the concept of that we went on tour, we had a near-death experience, we rolled our trailer in Texas, Abilene, Texas, and we were all lucky to be walking away.
Can we go in depth to that, because I've heard you reference that. Everybody references that, and it's always referred to as the accident.
Yeah.
And it seems like this experience that will never leave any of you.
No.
Do you mind going deep into that? And what I like about that, I was saying to somebody earlier, it's like, I think it was you. It's like a lot of people probably ask about the accident, right?
Yeah.
So let's just like describe it so well right now so that you can just point them to this episode from now on and you never have to talk about it again.
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. I like that.
Yeah. I'll have to describe it. Matt doesn't remember too much of it.
Yeah, I don't remember anything. So
Oh, actually, and there's a song about that, as I recall.
Specifically to that, that we were driving in the early morning through Abilene, or about to get to Abilene. We were just on the outskirts of that town, on the way to Dallas to do an acoustic show, and it was kind of a freak accident. We had this big fifth wheel. I asked my grandpa if I could borrow his fifth wheeler. We didn't know what we were doing. This is our first national tour.
hemorrhaging money on gas.
Yeah, oh my God.
Just hemorrhaging.
I think one of our first tour photos was just taking a picture of the gas price, and it was just like $140. It was a double tank. So we were driving. It was actually almost exactly noon, and it was a clear sunny day. There was like no weather-related issues to contribute to us crashing. Matt Modog, or Matt Robinson, was actually in the trailer. Was in the trailer, and I was in the trailer practicing. I was actually, I was in. It was a fifth wheel trailer.
That's not legal, is it?
Well, the irony of it all is that I was terrified to ride in the trailer, so I was like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
So I'm in the front seat, buckled in, like a good, obeying the rules of the road.
Yeah. And but so as we're going along, just a tire exploded and flipped us, and we were going about 70 miles an hour, and we like I said, Matt Robinson and myself were in the trailer, and we just started spinning. And at one point I remember it spun slowly at first, and I just remember feeling this falling back, and I actually turned. I remember turning to the wall, and then the wall just disappeared, and then it was just like whipped like three times over at least, and then I ended up under a bunch of rubble. And I mean, you
yeah, I remember if you've ever hated your alarm clock. Let me tell you, there's a worse way to wake up. And I experienced it that day. And it was something else. I remember hearing Stu was driving. I remember hearing him scream. I remember hearing Jeremy scream. You were playing guitar back there at the time, right?
Yeah. I was playing. Yeah, it started kind of floating away from me about the same time that I was falling back. And I was like,
I like the way you tell the story of that he was running. He was like trying to run on the wall and keep up with it, like a hamster in
like
a hamster
a
wheel.
ninja?
Yeah.
Because at first it's kind of started to tip. It started to tip over, and so I remember putting my hands and putting my feet actually on the wall, and then it was just like I maybe got like a step, and then it just whap, it just spun, and next thing I know, I'm just on the ground trying to punch this like plexiglass little side window that was and I'm like screaming for him because he disappeared because I saw him before, and then after the spun. Yeah.
The crazy part about him is that he was sleeping on the couch in there, and underneath that couch was my DW 9000 kick pedal, which is like heavy metal, and it would be about under his head. And that pedal was bent like a U, and he walked away relatively unscathed.
Well, you know what? There was a bed in that trailer, and that's where I was sleeping originally. We had pulled like a ridiculous drive the night before, like an 8-hour
we drove
drive.
all night before that,
and I was just exhausted. That's why I was sleeping so late, and I was sleeping on the bed, but it was too bouncy.
It's the one that's like over the bed of the truck, fifth wheel.
So for I was just like, I need to move. This is horrible, and so I moved down there to the couch, and I'm pretty sure, like, say what you want about fate, but I'm pretty sure I would have been smashed into oblivion had I stayed up on that bed.
It's crazy.
Who was the most injured?
Matt Coit here, the drummer.
And how badly were you injured?
It looks like I probably put my head through the side window, so I ended up with a fractured C5, C6 vertebra, which all things considered was about as lucky as you could get with a broken bones in your neck. It was fractured on the outside. It nicked the nerves going through, coming out the side. So my thumb's numb still. And I initially thought I broke my arm. So I remember just like telling these guys, like, I broke my arm. And they're like, you're using it. You're holding your phone with your arm. And I'm like, no, it's broken. But it was all the nerves were so smashed coming out that it just felt like it was, but it was fractured C5, C6, and then a pretty severe concussion.
So the guy strapped in had the most...
Yeah. It's because I could see it coming. Yeah. And I couldn't do anything about it.
Tensed up.
Yeah.
And you outlined this experience in the song Abilene.
Yeah.
Tom spent some time with it, and he actually thought somebody had died in it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what the final result was, and you guys all came through it in one piece. Well, not in one piece, but alive.
Our friend laid out on the highway, broken glass and gasoline.
Well, that's I came. My brief memories of it is him running up to the cab, and I'm hanging upside down, and he said, he's screaming, are you okay? And I'm like, go check on Stu. Because I felt fine, and then it was when I got out, I remember like holding my neck, and I was laying in a puddle of gasoline, and like a Good Samaritan just was like, "You can't lay here. You got to get up." Got me to the other side of the road.
Yeah.
Then,
well, there's a reason that you're detecting that there's more to that song than just the accident, and I'm sure Jeremy could speak more to that. He's the songwriter, so the creative process, what you drew on.
The interplay with your grandma.
And that all comes back to our accident, our near-death experience, and then unfortunately a lot of the more recent things towards the end of us writing this album and finalizing, especially Abilene. That song took over 3 years to finish writing. The third verse alone took like over a year, and it just my grandmother passed away a year ago in 3 or 4 days from now, March 3rd last year, and then his Matt Coit's mother, she passed away last April. So it was kind of an all-encompassing between our close call and all the things that have happened and our lives and where we are, and then also coming to realizing our life as well as feeling the presence of the death that's around our family and our friends, and just wanted to put that into a song and talk about it across and see all the relations of it.
Well, yeah, some of the things you've told me about is like death sitting there watching us and letting us go, whereas sitting in, with his grandma and, basically taking her, right? So it's that death making that choice of, like, none of us should have walked away from that.
Right.
I mean, and we all did. and it's just that play between the two.
Yeah, and that's why each verse starts the same way. It's I saw you, didn't know it, but I saw you, and it's me speaking in first person to death himself. The first time he lets us go. Count your losses, count your blessings, and then the second time he's ominously he's around, and I'm caring for my grandmother because I was there for her quite a bit towards the end of her life. And in the third verse, he's there when she passes.
The third verse, how does it start?
Peeling back the floral paper walls.
That's the one I struggle. Even when we play it, I struggle sometimes to get through it because it's it's that line about all the things, like all the questions that I'll never ask, all the answers I'll never get, right?
Or all the answers I'll never hear.
Yeah, those lines get me because my mom died real unexpectedly. I mean, she was at my show on Friday and she was gone on Sunday, and so when I hear like those lyrics, I almost don't like that he's such a good lyricist sometimes, just because it kind of gets to me while I'm playing. But I guess it's worth it.
And I'm sorry to dwell on it, but how recently did your mother pass?
It'll be a year in April, so it's a little under a year. Yeah.
And your grandmother passed around the same time?
March 3rd of last year. So yeah.
Abilene kind of goes between the car accident and these deaths you guys have dealt with. A very interesting visual to me. You driving back 3,000 miles alone, correct?
Yeah.
With all the band stuff. All you've got is your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I bet the thoughts are kind of dark. And
it was both scary and exciting. I got stuck in a snowstorm, and this is right after we were in a huge wreck. So I remember just sweat dripping down my hands in Wyoming, and and if you listen to the Matt Drives at Night song, like I bring specific points all the way from the wreck on.
Well, he played shows all the way home.
You did.
So he played shows all the way. He picked up his.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
You played shows all the way home. Am I understanding correctly? You played the shows the full band was supposed to play?
I tried to play a few of them, but a lot of them I couldn't make it in time. There was there was a stagger between the dates that we were supposed to be in places.
But this is a remarkable aspect to add.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you had these days. You had this horrible accident happen. Band goes home because obviously there's some injuries and some trauma. Gear's got to get home, and what the heck? We've already got the dates booked. Let's see if we can.
Did you have to go out and buy a new guitar?
I had Stu's guitar. That's what it was.
Stu's guitar.
Stu had an acoustic guitar, and it had just a little punch a hole in the back. But other than that, it was still fine. And so I used his guitar.
This visual of you driving back, it's like a man possessed, right? I wonder, because you and I don't know each other really well outside of the music world and being, hey, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
You just strike me as somebody who carries a lot of darkness with you, but you just keep moving forward no matter what and keep punching, because there's a lot more to you than we've described here. You're in this band, that's one thing. You also have a studio that so many people who've played this stage rent rooms from. You manage that studio. Is it just Manzanita Studios? Or
I figured do a double plug on the band.
But that's a role that you play that a lot of people know you for. You also work in a hospital, I believe.
I work in an ICU at Kaiser.
You work in an ICU at Kaiser, and you face death every day.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, just hearing these stories and like looking at you, this is a man who experiences a lot of darkness. Maybe succumbs to it sometimes, but just keeps punching forward. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate.
How do you deal with the amount of pain and horror and suffering you see in your job? Because we talked about it briefly a couple months ago, about how it's when we were prepping for the music video. I have to think that plays a role into all this stuff too. I have to think it sinks into your psyche a little bit.
Yeah, I think that I think at some points I get worried about pigeonholing myself and writing too much about death, because I find myself seeing these both tragic and amazing stories all the time in the ICU. I try to not get too. That's the hard thing about people that work in healthcare in general, and is taking away from the band is you want to be invested in the people that you're taking care of, because you really want to be there for them. You want to be empathetic of understanding what they're going through, but you don't want to be too involved to the point where you can't go home and think about your own life, and you carry this weight of the people. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you you take some of it home with you, and that definitely comes out in my songwriting. And I think the best way that I deal with it is try to be creative, try to feel like I'm making a tangible object, something that I can reflect on, that makes me feel like something is moving. And I try to focus on a lot, especially in the hospital. I try to focus on getting to be a part of not only the people that pass and be there for them, but also be there for the people that, getting to see the people go out and, get out and live their lives and continue to, not unlike our accident, but get back up and continue their lives where they left off and try it. And sometimes people make a big difference being in that moment. It can be very cathartic, and you get to be a part of that. It's a lot of times really rewarding.
Yeah, I would imagine this would be a completely different band if not for that occupation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to talk about the job that you work through this entire thing, because obviously it's the band. But I do think that there's overlap.
Yeah.
Do you feel like some of the heaviness that you carry, do you feel like that would exist whether you worked in that line of work, regardless?
I don't think that it would be as much of a forefront in my writing. Yeah. I don't think so. If I didn't see it every day, because when you write about a subject, let's say you're starting writing when you're young, you might like writing love songs, and you might write like a lot of love songs, but you're going to write a lot of really crappy love songs, and you're going to go through a lot of crappy relationships before you can accurately describe one in a good song. And I think that's, to a certain extent, what I've seen in the hospital and my personal life and the things that we've been through in a band. I think I'm proud of this album, and I'm happy about the lyrics because I had to go through so much of this in different aspects before ever writing this.
What struck you, Tom? I mean, you've spent a lot of time with this album. Did any of the themes or...
Well, knowing something about what it was about, it feels like there's... most of the album is about ending something. Weatherman had that feel. In fact, I think the last line was a goodbye line, as I recall. I thought that the last line was really cool.
As if there was a way out, as if there was an answer. Part of me knew she'd take part of me with when she left here.
Yeah.
There's a feeling throughout the album that something is. It's almost the one door is closing, one door is opening. There's definitely the feel of leaving something and coming into something new. Mm-hmm. Making the decision to move on. Mm-hmm. Abilene was not making the decision to move on, but it certainly was a pivotal point, and it was a move on piece.
Does the songwriter focus on the beginning that follows the end, or does the songwriter sometimes focus a lot on just the fact that everything ends?
When you say the songwriter, you mean
I mean
me.
you.
Just making sure.
Well, we've talked a lot about death, and we've talked a lot about things ending. Right. I wonder, do you sometimes get hung up on the fact that everything ends?
Do I get hung up on things ending?
No, well, just the idea that, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die, this relationship's going to end. I mean, that can feel like a negative place to be, but I wouldn't be surprised, having spent some time with your work, that maybe sometimes your thoughts take you there.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time there. And I don't how to answer that? That's a great question.
Can I've from being good friends with Jeremy and watching him, I feel like you spend a lot of time being afraid of that and working hard to prevent things ending. Mm-hmm. You're always you get kind of manic if you feel like something's wrong or amiss, or you work really hard to prevent it from falling apart. So I feel like you spend a lot of time,
And you capture that. This throughout the album, actually, as I think about it, the theme is almost the inevitability of something ending.
Do you have trouble staying still?
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is like I'm moving my feet. I'm moving my hands.
But I mean, more than that. Like, do you have trouble just not like having a night just to kind of like take it easy?
Oh,
Are you somebody who's always got to be moving?
Yeah, I can't. Staying home is the bane of my existence. I got to be out doing something. I'm always. It's actually kind of a problem for me, as I'm always wearing too many hats, and I'm always spreading myself too thin. But it's the way I like to do things.
But sometimes I wonder, like, is it a problem or is it a gift? that you are so restless, and you can channel that restlessness to like try to shape a world that you want to live in?
I feel that to a certain extent, it's definitely a gift because, I have never been okay to just sit at home and not be doing something, not to be a part of something. But at the same time, it's a problem in the sense that I like everything. I want to do everything. I want to paint. I want to go outside. I want to create a business. I want to educate myself. And the problem it's a great thing to have, but I think it can be a problem when you can't decide which you want more. And there is a limit to how many things you can do at once. And after a while, you have to decide which things you're willing to suffer or go in the background or back burner a little bit more. Because there have been times where I wanted to spend the day working on music. I had some great ideas, and there have been times that I was not able to do that because I spread myself too thin. And I have made a lot of changes to make sure that what is most important to me, the primary things that are most important to me, stay in the highest amount of focus.
So I had not spent much time with Manzanita Falls prior to like the last few months, even though you guys have been playing music for so long. And that's very, very strange because you guys have played a lot of shows in Sonoma County and you are definitely a band that people know. And it's really been a thrill to get to know you guys and also to get to know the music. I hope some other people are going to have that experience through this episode. And I hope that this can be a nice companion piece for the new album, which is Abilene, which is coming out spring of 2017. So everybody should check that out. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining us
thanks
tonight.
for coming tonight.
Thank you.
so
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Really.
And
Thank you.
our interview has concluded, but everyone should stick around because Manzanita Falls is going to play us a collection of new songs. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Talk is cheap, then why do none of these negotiations make change? None of these conversations make any sense if talk is cheap. Talk is cheap and you're a waste of my time. One-trick pony with the one-trip ride. Talk is cheap and you're a waste of my time. Whisper in the darkness before they find the light. Writing love letters on Berlin walls. We'll never get the message across. And hitting rock bottom with a broken heart makes division by zero a definable loss. Have no right to weep, 'cause it's only talk and talk is cheap. Talk is cheap and you're a waste of my time. One-trick pony with the one-trip ride. Is cheap and you're a waste of my time. You're a whisper in the darkness before they find them. one-trick pony with a one-track mind. And talk is cheap and you're a waste of my time. You're a whisper in the darkness that'll never see the light. Hardships we sailed in, the chips on our shoulders, all drawing close when the strangers draw closer. But I am not afraid when the world turns its light, as long as you leave your flowers at my door. The hardships we sailed in, the chips on our shoulders, all drawing close when the strangers draw closer. But I am not afraid when the world turns its light, as long as you leave your flowers at my door. The hardships we sailed in, the chips on our shoulders, all drawing close when the strangers draw closer. But I am not afraid when the world turns its light, as long as you leave your flowers at my door. As long as you leave your flowers at my door. As long as you leave your flowers at my door. As long as you leave your flowers at my door. I saw you. Didn't know it, but I saw you on the high noon of Abilene. My friend laid out on the highway, broken glass and gasoline. Whatever you think you've got to say, count your losses, count our blessings, let us make our getaway. I saw you, didn't know it, but I saw you as I helped her struggle up the drive. Her hands, so frail on the railing, chip the paint and follow close behind. Whatever you think you've got to say, bite your tongue until the blood runs down your face. I saw you, didn't know it, but I saw you peeling back the floral paper walls and the red stems under her skin, wilting from its color as you pulled on my shoulder. Say the cracks are the only things that grow in her empty flower pots and broken bones. And I hear your name in the creaks of the hospital pews. And I hear your name in the echoes of her empty room. And I hear your name in the questions that I'll never ask, in the answers that I'll never hear. I'll hear your name. I hear your name. got a lot of dirt on me, and I know I got a lot of dirt on you, and we know we can bury each other in the things we didn't do, 'cause I know must have told you about 1,000 times. These forks in the road, and I know I've been eating off the same forks in the road. I can eat what I want, but I can never find home. Though you told me about 1,000 times, I know you told me about 1,000 times. 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 Singing out this hole in the wall, and I know I've been holding this drink just like a crutch. I can drink what I want, but I can never get full. Though you told me about 1,000 times. Are you here to break bread? Or are you here to bleach my bones and hang me out to dry where you keep your dead alive? You're dead alive on Friday night. Dress me in a new suit, tell me how I look so pearly white under the starry light. My dead alive. the suitcase at the door, the burning bed, the amber flames are calling me back to the simple bed we share tonight, or the soft earth tonight. Morning comes, I dust off all the ashes and dirt from my shallow grave. We've all been saved. My dead alive. Is it love of life?